Right. Students, this is the second part of the lesson, Snapshot of a Dog. So, in the first part, you have seen how the author reminiscences about his favorite dog, Rex, even after 25 years after the death of the dog. And he has told us how he has trained the dog to fetch a stick. He has also told us how the dog is a peaceful pet, and it doesn't bite people. It doesn't chase cars or wagons and so on, or nor does it fight with the other dogs, except when it is troubled by the other dogs. To teach them a lesson, he holds the dog by their ears. And now he talks about the dog's favorite recreation or a favorite pastime, and that is swimming. Swimming was his favorite recreation pastime. The first time he ever saw a body of water, the first time the dog was taken to a place where there was water, he trotted nervously along the steep bank for a while, fell to barking wildly, and finally plunged in from a height of 8 feet or more. I shall always remember that shining virgin dive. So, here, as I told you, it is a memory, a fond memory or memories that the author has about the dog, and he talks about the first time that he has taken the dog for a swim. When he took him to the water bank, the dog in the beginning did not jump into the water. Maybe he was a little frightened of the water because it was his first time. And so, what does he do to show that he is a little nervous? He walks along the steep bank for a while, barking wildly. And finally, he plunged in from a height of 8 feet or more. Finally, he jumps into the water from a height of 8 feet. I shall always remember this picture. The first time the dog jumped into the water, virgin, first time. Okay, virgin is the first dive, that the first jump that the dog takes into the water. Then, after jumping into the water, he swam upstream and then back again, just for the pleasure of it, like a man. Just as human beings enjoy swimming, the dog also went upstream, went towards the water, and then he returned, enjoying the swim. It was fun to see him bathe upstream against a stiff current, growling every foot of the way. So the dog was swimming against the current. You know, when you go to a water body, especially flowing water, a river, you can see that there is a current. The water has got a force, and you have to swim against the force of the water. And the dogs liked doing this, and to show that he was happy, he was making a growling sound. He had as much fun in the water as any person I had ever known. You didn't have to throw a stick into the water to get him to go in. Of course, he would bring back a stick if you did throw one in. He would have brought back a piano if you had thrown one in. So he says sometimes he used to play with the dog. When the dog used to be in the water, he used to throw a stick into the water, and the dog used to bring the stick back. It was not that the stick was thrown to make the dog jump into the water. The dog would jump into the water on its own accord. He was very fond of swimming. But if the author James Thurber threw a stick into the water, the dog would bring back the stick. And he again very humorously he says it is not just a stick. Even if you had thrown a heavy object, a piano, into the water, he would have brought it back. That reminds me of the night he went a rowing in the light of the moon and brought back a small chest of drawers he had found somewhere. How far from the house, nobody ever knew. That reminds me of the night he went a rowing. He went a rowing in the light of the moon. One dark night when there was just moonlight, he goes for a swim, and goes quite far, because in the water he sees a chest of drawers, almirah like thing, which has got many drawers. Okay, a cupboard which has got many drawers. That the drawers, that is something that can be pulled out of the almirah, where you keep all your things. So he had found a chest of drawers in the water. How far from the house, no one knew. But when he came back to the house with pulling that cupboard, a small cupboard, a chest is a small cupboard, pulling it, the drawers had fallen off, and only the outside, the chest, remained. When he got home, and it was not a good one, just a old cheap piece abandoned on a trash heap. Trash is all the waste that you throw. So this was just abandoned. It was thrown in the people throw all their unwanted things into the water bodies and pollute the water bodies. And here was a dog who was trying to bring out a chest from the water body, a cupboard from the water body, which was thrown, abandoned there. Nobody wanted it, left there. Still, it was something he wanted. The person who had thrown it did not want, nobody wanted it, but the dog wanted it, probably because it presented a nice problem in transportation. So why did he bring the chest of drawers? Because it was a challenge for him. He liked to lead a strenuous, a difficult. He liked to take the challenges of life, and this chest of drawers, bringing it from the water into the house, was a challenge for him. We first knew about his achievement when deep in the night we heard sounds as if 2 or 3 people were trying to tear the house down. So how did they know that he was bringing the chest of drawers? They could hear some kind of terrible sound, as if people, 2 or 3 people, were trying to demolish the house. Some kind of frightening sound to them, as if their house was falling down. And they came out of their beds, and what did they see? We came downstairs and turned on the porch light. Rex was on the top step trying to pull the thing up. So he was pulling up the chest of drawers, and that was the sound that they heard, the noise that we heard. But it had caught, and he was just holding his own, but he was finding it very difficult. It was stuck somewhere on the stairs, and he was pulling it with his teeth, with all his strength, and that was the sound. I suppose he would have held his own until dawn if we had not helped him. So the dog was such a stubborn fellow that he says, just as he had held the ears of a colored man's dog from morning to evening, the whole night the dog would have held on to this drawer, and I suppose he would have held his own until dawn had we not helped him to bring it up. Next day, We carted the chest miles away and threw it out. The next morning, what did these brothers do? They, they carted, they put it in a vehicle and they threw it very far away from the house, because if they had thrown it nearby, he would have brought it home again, a small token of his integrity in such a matters. So, what would he have done had they thrown the dog? Had they thrown the chest of drawers, he would have still brought it back. There was in his world no such thing as the impossible. He would do anything. In his dictionary, in the dog's dictionary, there was no word which said impossible. For him, everything was possible. Even death couldn't beat him down. Even when he died, he fought with death. He died, it is true. None of us can live. Death is imminent. All of us have to die one day. But he did not die a dog's death, or he did not succumb to death very easily. He fought with death too. But only, as one of his admirers said after, straight aiming the death angel for more than an hour. He fought with death. He tried to keep himself alive for more than an hour, and that too for a particular reason. He tried to keep himself alive. Late one afternoon, he wandered home too slowly and uncertainly to be the Rex that had trotted briskly homeward up our avenue for 10 years. One afternoon, the dog had lost all his strength. Very slowly, he was unable to walk. Every time he would walk briskly, very fast, full of strength. But one afternoon, he had lost all his strength. He was unable to walk. He was wobbly and weak. Slowly, he walked up the avenue, the road. I think we all knew. I think we all knew when he came through the gate that he was dying. The way he walked, the way he held himself or carried himself, the author and the others who saw him knew that the dog was going to die. He had apparently taken a terrible beating, probably from the owner of some dog he had got into a fight with. So they believe, or they assume that somebody has beaten the dog. Why has that man beaten the dog? Maybe because Rex got into a fight with that dog, and as we know, if he holds on to a dog's ears, he will not let it go from morning to evening, and that is why maybe the owner had beat him up. He had taken a beating. His head and body were scarred. There were wounds on his body, and some of the brass studs of his heavy collar were sprung loose. So the collar is the belt that you tie around the dog's neck, and it had got some brass buttons. Those buttons also had come off. He licked at our hands and, staggering, fell but got up again. This was his last goodbye to his owners. And what does he do? He comes and licks the hands of the author and the other brother who was present there, and then he falls. We could see that he was looking for someone. He falls down, but he doesn't die. His eyes keep searching for someone. During that hour, the bull terrier fought against death as he had fought against the cold, strong current of the creek, just as he had fought against the force of the water when he was swimming in the creek in the water, in the same way he fought against death for 1 hour. Why? Because he was waiting for someone to come to say his last goodbye. Who was that someone? The third brother. Only the two brothers were at home, and he was waiting for the third brother. When the person he was waiting for did come through the gate, whistling, ceasing to whistle, the third brother comes home in a happy mood. He is whistling to the dog to get up. He is not aware that the dog is dying, and he ceases, he stops to whistle when he realizes that the dog is unable to get up and come running towards him, but rests on hearing the whistle, gets up, walked a few wobbly paces, unable to walk towards him, touched his hand with his muzzle. Muzzle is his the nose part, that front part of the dog's mouth, the nose, and then again he fell down. This was his last time. He was getting up to meet his master, the third brother. He wanted to say goodbye to him before his death, and then he did not get up. This time, that was his last what respect that he pays to his master. Thank you, students. With that, we come to the end of this lesson. Again, as I've told you, there are certain words which have been underlined. They are the difficult words. Please look up the dictionary for these words. Okay, and as I have explained, I have given you the meanings of the words too. So read the lesson again and again. It will help you to understand the lesson better. Thank you, students.